Crosby Township trustee meeting. We all rise and we play plugs to the flag. Yes. We lost one of our employees
Yeah, still gotta do
a
roll
couple
call
weeks
for
ago. And Jim, you want to say something about Don?
Yeah, I'd like to just take a moment of silence for Don Ressler, one of our longtime employees, passed away, I believe, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. So just a minute there.
I know Brenda got missed him because he did all the painting for the community center and the township. So, okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dole,
Present.
Mr. Niehaus,
Present.
Mr. Heiss,
Present. Okay. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held February 11, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's one thing we need to address. On the last page, I made a motion to go to a justice session, and in the minutes we're going to say what the reason for it.
thought I added that, Joe.
So I don't have it on mine. Do you have it on yours?
Where you, let's see, I think that was, let me see. At the bottom of the second page, the last sentence, Mr. Heiss announced the need to go in executive session tonight to ask about staffing for the fire department.
Okay. That should also be on the last page. So,
Where we went into executive session, you mean?
right, at 8:10. So,
Okay, I'll add it.
okay. Also found out that that reason for justice session for staffing, that is not a good reason to do a justice session. So, I will talk about that later when we talk about the fire department. So that was my mistake. So I will talk about that later and what we talk about. Okay. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dole,
Yes.
Mr. Niehaus,
Yes.
Mr. Heiss,
Yes. Approval of the, for the bills as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dole,
Yes.
Mr. Niehaus,
Yes.
Mr. Heiss,
Yes. Okay. Correspondence. Mrs. Doe,
No correspondence.
Mrs. Niehaus.
I have none.
And likewise, I do not have any. Okay. Yes. The Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Keith Boeing. I'm taking over for Sergeant Kevin Koo, who recently retired, or soon to be retired. Got myself here tonight. This is Supervisor, Chief Mark Schoonover. But I'll give this report real quick for you guys. For the month of February, there's 87 calls for service here in Crosby Township. 3 cases were assigned to our detectives, with one of them being closed out or a case from a previous month. Looks like we took 3 criminal reports. We had a breaking and entering, criminal damaging, a theft report, 2 non-criminal reports, deceased person, and an 80 case where someone fell. A total of 7 accident reports, and the traffic detail that you guys, as Sergeant Steve Raker takes care of. It looks like they worked a total of 12 days in the month of February. Had 4 warnings for traffic violations, performed 16 vacation checks, 12 school checks, assisted 1 motorist, and did 16 business checks. I'd also like to point out, along with this area being so big and that, along with surrounding agencies, the residents of Crosby Township, if you guys see something, please call our comm center at 825-2280. Without the calls from the residents, we don't know what's considered suspicious. There could be a car on the side of the road. We could think it's just somebody's car parked there. The residents of this township know more than we do. Recently, Miami Township had a call back in early part of January. Resident called about a car on the side of the road. Officer went to investigate. Lo and behold, he stumbled upon a home invasion robbery that we were able to arrest 2 out of the 3 people. I think charges may be pending on the 3rd one. Without that call, we would never, that homeowner, we don't know what would have happened, but the officer walked in on the actual home invasion. So important for people to give us a call, because it helps us out more than the residents will know.
Can you repeat that number again?
Area code 513-825-2280. Or if they really deem it an emergency, they can call 911. That helps us out. And unless you have some questions, I can turn it
Well,
over.
for one, wait a minute. I think that phone number's on the back of our flyer that we send out every quarterly.
I think it is too.
That phone number is
That's
on the
good.
back of the
Okay.
Crosby Township newsletter. And this is the lady I called you about.
Okay.
Not about. Guess I said that wrong.
Hi, my name is Gwen Lawhorn. We live at 9209 New Haven Road. Just following up on what the deputy here was stating, last Monday, March 4th, in the early morning hours, about 1:15 a.m., we received a knock on our front door. Woke my husband up, knocked a second time. By that point in time, he was awake and alert. We weren't sure, was there an emergency or something going on? Opened the front door. There was a man with a vehicle running in our driveway. He was walking away from our house. My husband asked him, what's going on? And he proceeded to try to sell steaks and wanted him to come out to his van at 1:15 in the morning to buy steaks. In hindsight, there's a lot of things that we probably could have done differently. Calling the sheriffs right away would probably been the best option, but when you have to get up for work in about 4 hours, sometimes that's not the first thing that you think about. But really thinking back on it, if that person was up to no good, it seems like they would be, especially if they're at your house at 1:15 in the morning, trying to conduct business. But we didn't have anything missing. It didn't appear that there was any footprints or anything around our house, but I just can't shake the suspicion that he was there for different reasons. We just thought that the community and the sheriff should know. The only description we could give is it was a middle-aged, small build, Caucasian male driving a small white SUV or van. The headlights were on. Again, just woke up, hard to get a license plate, that kind of thing, and happened really quickly. But we just thought the community and the sheriffs should know about it.
And on that, I accidentally was talking to somebody else after Gwen had called me the next day, and she said, "What?" I said, told her was telling her the story, and she says, "I know a lady who had a guy come to her house on Mount Hope Road, but it was in the evening, and it's a light tan, one of them CRVs, like a crossover thing. She's seen it in the daylight. You was in the but he said it's a light, like a cream color or something. It was, but she thought it was odd too, that when the time that he came. So, I guess, like I've said a lot of times here, that if you see something odd, call. They'll come and see what's right, and, you know, what's going on. I mean, that's his job, or is to come look and investigate or whatever. So it's just odd that somebody be selling steaks at 1:15 in the morning.
Yes.
I told Gwen, even if he lived in California, his clock was, and he was in the wrong, and still had the same watch on, he'd still been late.
I'd
So-
like to add on that one, at 1:30 morning, 1:15 in the morning, that's a 911 call right there. You don't know who's at your front door, don't answer it. Let our guys come out. Believe me, we're gonna come out with 2 or 3 cars. So, guy, who knows what he was up to that night, but at least we can find out who he was. We can get his identification, run it through the system, and find out what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Question. I heard from a resident down by the railroad tracks down on New Haven Road. She said last week or so that she said the marshals showed up and took out some guy that was a no pedophile that was running a home back in. Would that have been you guys? Because she said marshals, but they came in and hauled this guy out, and he was a pedophile that was not, he didn't register, and there's quite a few kind of.
The sheriff's office does have, we do register sex offenders. If they don't register, they can't get a warrant out for the rest. And we do have members of the sheriff's office who do work with the U.S. Marshals. So they could have been out there without the exact date or not. I'm not sure. They don't tell me everything going on, but a lot of times the marshals will go out there. You'll see them out there with 4 or 5 guys, maybe a canine, just to take someone in custody. But that would not be unusual.
There are 1,500 registered sex offenders in the county, so they're in your neighborhood and they're in everyone's neighborhood.
I just wanted to say I do appreciate that you said to Gwen that would be a 911 call, because I think it's hard for us as residents to kind of know, do you wait till they, you know, commit a crime and then it's a 911, or what, you know, when is it suspicious or when's it cross over? By you just saying that, you gave me a new sense of empowerment to go, okay, if they're at my door, 911. So I just think that's helpful to know in your mind what's appropriate.
That's it. I mean, if you're not comfortable answering the door, 1:30 in the morning, no one should be at your door.
Right.
You're short of an auto accident out there, but even that could be something that he's telling you, we're out there, we're gonna respond.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. I'll make this as brief as I can. It looks like you got your plate full today here, so. Again, my name's Mark Schoonover. I'm the Chief Deputy with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, served directly under Jim Neal.
Could you spell your last name?
SCHOONOVER.
Thank you.
So I just kind of wanted to give you an update on the sheriff's budget. It reflects directly on all of the townships that we serve. About midway through 2018 last year, we started getting the information that the county was going to be in approximately a $29 million deficit for 2019. And since we are probably the largest or second to the largest entity in the county that receives funds from the county commissioners, you know, we could only assume that we were going to receive a large cut in the sheriff's office. We weren't sure what that was in the middle of the year, but we started preparing for it. And we went on a hiring freeze in July. We haven't hired anyone since then. It's we look to hire just a handful for our jail about the second pay period of April, but that's it. So in almost a year, I think we will have hired 10 people by the time a full year's up. Our cut ended up being $5.5 million to the sheriff's office just for 2019 alone. 2020, it doesn't look much better unless something is done. There is talk of them still trying to pass an additional tax levy on sales tax to try to catch the entire county government up, and the sheriff's office besides. What does this mean to the sheriff's office? Well, we had 931 employees 9 months ago. Today we have 890. So we've lost 41 positions in the sheriff's office. You haven't really seen that out here yet, although it has affected you. The 9 Williams 17 beat, which primarily runs here in Harrison Township, is comprised mostly of canine officers now, which work countywide units, which could respond anywhere as needed in the county, and they are needed. Sheriff Neal and I both have made a commitment that we will always be here for Crosby Township, all the western townships, and we will do what we can do with the budget that we're allocated. We're doing more with less is the bottom line. We continue to cut the sheriff's office in manpower. As people leave, you know, when you have a 900+ man agency, you have attrition. So we continue to make those cuts as people leave. We simply don't replace them. And so things are being cut all over the sheriff's office. A lot of deputies are wearing a lot more than just one hat these days. There was, I'll just say, some elected officials that believe we should, I'm just going to speak bluntly with you because this affects you, that we should just simply pull our cars out of Crosby, Whitewater, and Harrison Township. Just pull them out, done, overnight. I'm here to give you my word as the chief deputy of this county that we will never do that, and we will always respond in for calls for service at minimum, which we are still doing today. We've been here 13 years before this township was formed, and we're here today and we'll be here tomorrow. However, having said that, in this day and age, what I believe should happen, and this is not a request by any stretch of the imagination, but food for thought. I believe the 3 townships out here, Crosby, Whitewater, and Harrison, should look in the future towards possibly banding together and creating a police district with a contract for the sheriff's office. Law enforcement is not cheap. Doesn't matter what agency you're looking at, it costs a lot of money to have law enforcement in your community. We're experiencing times right now like I've never seen in the 38 years I've been with the sheriff's office. And it's getting lean, and it's getting leaner by the day. So the truth of the matter is we receive 0 funds from the far west, period. We don't receive anything. I don't ever recall a time that we did. So with the exception of Harrison Township at one time had a 140-hour contract car. That was it, 40 hours a week. When he was off, he wasn't replaced. During the other 2 shifts, he wasn't replaced. And that went up for a renewal, not an increase, a renewal, and it was voted down. So we lost that car. And that's it. That's the only thing that I've ever known of us having. So that's just food for thought. It's just my opinion. I think moving forward into the future, we at least need to consider something like that. There's a Supreme Court ruling out there that says the sheriff's office, believe me, the county commissioners know this, do not have to patrol in any township. They're not obligated to patrol. But it also speaks of the sheriff having to maintain and preserve the peace in the county, and that they have to respond in, is how it's described, respond in for calls for service. Now, some would believe that that means maybe having a couple of deputies sitting in the courthouse waiting on a call to come out, you know, in one of these far western townships. And I completely disagree with that. The sheriff completely disagrees with that. We choose to respond in from within these townships, and we will continue to do that. We have, the bottom line is we have, what it equals out to is 3 deputy sheriffs on 24 hours a day to cover each of the 3 far western townships. So what that equals out to is you get 1 deputy in Crosby Township around the clock. That's not an ideal situation. It may be adequate. I mean, you heard these crime stats. Hey, I'm thinking about moving to Crosby Township. I mean, that's wonderful. Those are good stats, but You know, areas like the one out in Claremont County where the deputies got called to the apartment complex, they have low crime stats out there as well, and a deputy was killed out there about a month ago. So bad things happen in these times. It's a dangerous job. These deputies strap on a bulletproof vest, put a pistol on to go to work every day, and hug their wives and kids, and off they go. And you don't know if you're coming home or not. And in some cases, they don't. It doesn't matter where you work. It's a dangerous job. And it's a time that we really need to start thinking about how's law enforcement going to carry us into the future. And so I just want to leave you with that today. It's something that maybe the townships could band together to help us out a little bit, mostly to secure the future of law enforcement in these townships. It's a great place to live, work, and play, and we want to keep it that way. So, again, the Sheriff's Office has always been here for you. We've been around for about 229 years. We're here today, we'll be here tomorrow. You have any questions, anybody?
I guess I'll start it off. I get the same question pretty much all the time. We're all taxpayers. We do pay county taxes. So why would the Supreme Court say that you do not have to patrol out there?
It's the patrol function, period, that they're looking at. What a lot of people don't realize, and what really needs to be looked at, is everything else that the Sheriff's Office does and why we're a 900-plus man agency and what those tax dollars go for. We're mandated by state law to cover all the courthouse security functions. We're mandated by state law, in my opinion, to respond in for calls for service, but that does not include random patrols. We're mandated to do a lot of different things. Corrections or the jail is one of them. That, just to give you an example, just our what we pay for medical services in our jail alone is $7 million a year. We're mandated to operate that jail. We can't cut below a certain number of corrections officers. We can't cut the medical staff out. We can't cut their recreation out. We're mandated. And if we try those things, you know, a lot of citizens will say, well, just don't give them this or don't give them that. They're inmates, right? Why do we need to spend all that money? Well, if you don't, you're going to get sued, and it's going to cost the taxpayers more money than it would if you would have just done what you should have done in the first place. So there's a lot of mandates on the Sheriff's Office that takes up that $70+ million a year in our budget, and things that we have to do. We have no choice. I wish my news was a little bit better. I'd like to come out here and bring you all some good news. But I guess at the end of the day, the good news is, again, I assure you the Sheriff's Office is going nowhere. We will be here for you. Even if it's to the point where we're considered just responding in for details or calls for service, that's what we're going to do. Really, the truth of the matter is that's what we do now because of the lack of manpower we have out here, because of the lack of funding. And that's what we've always done. It's no different today than it was 20 years ago. We will continue to do that. We choose to do that from within these 3 large townships. It doesn't make sense to pay for 3 deputies to sit at the courthouse when I pay the exact same cost to have them responding to details for service from within these 3 large townships and backing one another up. I will argue that point for as long as I'm with this office. Yes.
How long does it take, I guess if there's a call for service and someone has to respond and the deputy has to respond from the station, Hamilton Avenue, how long does that take to get to this area of town?
Well, of course, depending on the time of day and the traffic, et cetera, but I would guess from Hamilton Avenue, you could probably be anywhere in the far west in 20 minutes.
Would that time be significantly shorter if the townships were under that contracted situation that you mentioned before?
I think it would boost manpower by just a little bit, and that's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that my deputies who are working out here for everyone's safety go home every night at the end of their shift. And when you have three deputies out here, and I don't know what the square miles of these 3 big townships are, but probably 20% of the entire county, I would guess. And 2 of them are tied up on a domestic at the trailer park on 128, and a shooting comes out on the other side of the county in the far end of Crosby somewhere. You got 1 deputy to respond to that, and he's probably assisting with the domestic too. And so it gets to be a dangerous situation for those officers involved and for the public. They expect the police to respond when they're called. When I call the police, I don't want them, if someone's broken into my house with a firearm, I don't want the police to get there in a half an hour. I don't care where I live in Hamilton County. We don't live in that time and age, for that. We expect more than that. We all deserve more than that. And so all I'm saying here today is it's something that we all really need to start thinking about. What do we really want in the way of public safety for our citizens? What do we want? If we're okay with what we have, then, the sheriff's office is always going to be here. We're going to continue doing what we do. I think everyone deserves a little bit better and just a little bit more than what we have.
Sir, I'd like to end on that. We do have staggered shifts, and our office is our patrol. So when they leave briefing, we get 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. shifts. They're out here with us. This is the home office.
Now, there was a time, those 3 deputies I'm talking about that are staggered in those 3 townships, if they needed a backup, you'd probably get a canine unit or a sergeant or a supervisor. Somebody's coming. But because of all these cuts, now we're getting into the situation where those are your beat guys. And if the cuts keep continuing, again, we're always going to be here for you, and I don't want you to go home and think you don't have any law enforcement, because it really hasn't changed much more today than it was yesterday. And we're going to do our best to continue with that effort, but there are some changes going on, and but we're going to keep trying to maintain at least what we have.
Chief, I have a point of clarification.
Yes.
I know you can answer, and then another question you may not want to answer. But
I'll do my best.
The point of clarification, I just want to make sure that it's clear to everyone. You mentioned 3 deputies. You mentioned that's basically 1 per township. I think it needs to be clear to everyone that that's not, that deputy is never going to leave Crosby Township. If they have that domestic situation and it's not in one far end of Crosby, it's in Whitewater, or it's in Harrison Township.
If
if
Colerain Township has a violent domestic or home invasion robbery or something, and they're calling for a canine unit, and the canine is over here in Crosby Township patrolling, I can't say that, not patrolling, answering calls for service, then that deputy is going to Colerain Township. That's what we do. We're the sheriff's office. So we're going to be there for everyone if we can. Like you said, everybody pays taxes for the sheriff's office, and all those things that I mentioned that are mandates, to me, that's what they go for. The patrols, random patrols in townships are covered by contracts. The criminal investigation section, traffic safety, we even have helicopters, the Marine Patrol, our bomb team, our dive team. If you add all those things up, and I could continue and keep going, that's way more money than we ever spend on just random patrols in townships, or what the townships spend. The county pays approximately $10 million a year for support services in the sheriff's office, which is all those things I mentioned. And there's never really been an argument about that, because even the county officials will say, well, people pay property taxes for that. And so they take advantage, all of the county residents can take advantage of that. And I will say this, with contract services, the sheriff's office gets bigger and it gets stronger. And I think we all need that in this county. We are the county guard. If something happens, the sheriff's office needs to be ready and capable of responding. And that was evident when we had the 95-car pileup with a fatality out on 275. You probably all remember that. There were 16 deputy sheriffs working that crash scene. And guess what? The Ohio State Patrol wasn't coming, and they told us that because they were dealing with a 55 car pileup out on 75 near Monroe. They weren't coming unless we wanted cars from Columbus. Well, we're the county guard. We have to be able to respond to things like that. I think every citizen in this county demands that. When the tornado went through in 1999 through Sims Township and Montgomery and those areas, and there were 5 or 6 fatalities, and I responded to that scene, and I remember looking over the hill at that one big subdivision down, actually laid down in the city of Montgomery, and it was just gone. It looked like a scene out of a bombing out of Iraq or something. And the county called in all their special deputies. We went on mandatory 12-hour shifts, suspended off days. We more than doubled our manpower by doing that, and we handled that situation. And that's what the county expects. That's what the county, every citizen in this county deserves. You have to have somebody to call on in cases like that, and that's us.
Second part, do you believe the cuts are going to continue until the agenda of getting townships to pay basically a force your hand? In your opinion?
Well, I think we're going to continue with a little bit more attrition, not a lot, but a little bit more. But I think the majority of the cuts are over with for now. It all depends. It's hard to answer because it all depends on what 2020 holds. I hope there's going to be a fix for this in the future. I think if you look at everything that I just explained and what the sheriff's office really does and what we're capable of doing and the fact that we need to be strong, a 0.25% sales tax tacked on for a couple of years is pretty minimal for what we do. And that wouldn't just fix us. That's, you know, that's a lot of problems the county is facing right now. The big loss here was, and maybe you all know about this, apparently there's a Medicaid, Medicare tax that we supposedly can no longer collect in Hamilton County through the state. And that was the big driving force of us losing, you know, $29 million is the total for 2019. So the state is sitting on a nice surplus of, the last I heard, is like $3 billion. Governor Kasich making all these different cuts. You've experienced it on the board here. You know what I'm talking about. I know you've received cuts that's hard to manage over the last few years. And so everybody's feeling it. And yeah, you may not be paying quite the state sales tax or the state taxes you used to pay, and they may be sitting on a $3 billion surplus. But the fruits of this tree, which is the townships and local municipalities and villages, they're dying off the plant. You know, they're just shriveling up because the funds are going away. And so the only fix is that the local taxes are increased. You're not going to get the money out of the state. If we expect the same services that we're used to or more, you know, I'm not, I don't sit on the board, and that's not really my job, and I'm probably talking about something that's out of my realm anyway, but it affects us all. So I see that as a possible fix in the near future, and I just think it's a minimal ask for what you're really going to get out of it. Yes.
Speaking of contract services, you know, we do have the traffic detail, and we're the only township on the western side that does do that.
Right.
I mean, it's a small contract, but if we just even increase that, at least we have the presence.
Everything helps.
And those particular officers can respond to calls too, correct?
Sure, absolutely.
So I think I brought it up at the last meeting about maybe we can just double the amount of traffic details that we do, at least, you know, and be something more anyway, something we can afford for now.
If any of you would like to speak to me afterwards, I'll stick around. If any of you would like to call me in my office, that number down there is 946-6413, and I will be happy to speak to anyone about any of this and share with you what I know. I think I've spoken frankly here today and open. This office is very transparent. We hide nothing. For the first time in the jail's history that I know of, media has been invited in to take tours. If it's an asset that we use or we have or something we're doing, we're going to let you know about it. All you have to do is ask the question, and I'll let you know everything I know. So, okay? Yes, sir.
Do you know what the average response time is like for out here?
You know, I don't have that information with me, but I would say it's 15 minutes or less. That's a guess. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but I haven't, that I know of, we haven't been receiving complaints about response time yet, so. Right. Right. That's why I said what time of day is it when, you know, when you're talking about response time. So 4:30 on a Friday evening is a little bit different.
We used to get, when Lieutenant Colonel Coyle was our liaison, used to give us a report sheet that had all the response times on. Remember, Chris? Chuck?
Mm-hmm.
It would tell us what time they were dispatching, what time they arrived. When he was here, we haven't had him since, but I don't know if that's just something he did on his own or what. But it was
Right.
pretty nice because you could see where every run was and everything.
Okay.
And another thing. Do what?
I can provide that to you.
Okay. What is as you know, this is considered, everybody calls this cop land down here in Crosby Township and Harrison Township. What is the obligation of a sheriff when he's off duty?
If
There's something major would happen,
if he knows about it, he should respond. If he knows about it, he should respond. Now, you know, if I'm sitting at home watching TV and the doors are closed and, you know, I don't have the news on, I'm watching Andy Griffin, then I don't know about it, right?
I was just wondering, like driving down the road or whatever, you know.
Speaking of that, you know, even Mayberry was patrolled by the sheriff's office, so there you go. All right, well, on behalf of myself, Sheriff Neal, thank you for allowing us to be a part of the law enforcement in Crosby Township. I hope that never changes and only gets better. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I have a comment. When I was official officer, we used to have a estate tax and then a tangible tax. They're gone. Because up in Columbus, they said you don't need that money anymore. That was like at least $100,000 a year for Crosby Township. And then recently, I guess the state balanced their budget, but they did it on the back of the township and the city. So, but I think we will probably come up with maybe more traffic detail. I think that's a good idea, at least help temporary, because I'm sure the off-duty sheriff deputy would be interested in working overtime on helping out. So we thank you very much for coming. Public at large.
Hi, I'm Melba Gard, and I'm the president of the Crosby Township Historical Society, and I also want to recognize that I brought two of our board members, Dwayne Singleton and Mike Mingus, tonight. A while back, we had requested from the township, because we've been doing some extensive renovation of the old town hall, that we could have a written contract with the township that delineates our responsibilities and your responsibilities on the old town hall. We use it as a museum, not currently because we're renovating it, but when it's finished, we will have it as a research center and a museum. And so currently we have a verbal contract with you, which we don't think is a great thing to have, and that's why we've asked or requested to have a lease contract with you. And so this year we've been working with your attorney, Mr. Alan Trentz, to come up with a lease contract that is good for both of us. And so you should have a copy of that. Mr. Trentz has given you a copy of that, and I'd like to go over some of it with you.
I emailed everybody a copy of it. Did you get yours?
Yeah, but I didn't bring it with me. Didn't bring my computer with me.
Huh?
Didn't bring my computer with me.
You don't have a printer?
Lucky I didn't turn the computer on.
I've got a copy.
You got a copy? I got a copy too.
I'll look it up.
You have an extra copy, or?
No.
Do you have yours, Trace?
No, I didn't get it. That's what I said, I didn't.
Did your township email work? Because that's where I sent it.
I guess
Was
it,
it today?
No, it was last week.
Oh,
you want another hard copy?
yeah, if you got one.
You want me to make a
Got
few
one?
copies?
Yeah.
I'll make a few.
Well, while you're making those copies, we have come up with almost a final draft of this, and when you get yours, there's only a couple places here that we have concern about, and one would be on insurance, and we want to go over that part with you and see what we can come up with.
You know, about the insurance part, I spoke to the agent that does the insurance for the township, and he told me he quoted, I think Chuck,
Right.
an annual premium of $275 that covers $1 million worth of liability. And he said that's what, for these historical societies, that's generally what they write. And I think that would cover it. And that would be the obligation of the historical society to make sure it's insured for that amount for liability.
So we would basically just go with the township's insurance and
This would be
separate.
your separate policy,
Okay.
yeah.
Because that's what we had talked about, the possibility of having it on our part of our insurance on with the township.
The township's insurance would not cover the historical society. They wouldn't be considered an insured. So that's why you have to get your own.
Got it. You would be looking on page 4, that is concerning the insurance.
Actually, paragraph 13, insurance. I think the first
And number
paragraph
12,
there.
I'm sorry, number 12, we also wanted to discuss on the
Yeah, well, let's
casualty.
finish on 13 first,
Okay.
so we can get that knocked out real quick.
Okay.
If the Historical Society would take and have that policy issued to it for that $1 million worth of coverage, I think that would be their obligation. And then if you wanted to, I mean, it was totally up to you if you wanted to take out further insurance for contents, but I think trying to value, you know, what the items are worth in there would be a little difficult, but you
Yes.
can talk to an agent about that, you know.
My concerns as reading this again tonight, we have, the township is going to, per the contract, be responsible for the things on the outside of the building, like the roof and the siding and those kind of things, maintenance on the grounds and that. We were wondering if there was a fire or something like that, or that is, whose insurance covers, or will both insurance cover?
No, you're only going to get liability insurance.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
building is going to be covered by the townships.
Got
So
it.
if there's a fire or other casualty to the building, that's going to be part of the township's policy.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that liability. Okay.
And what I added was if you wanted to get like the equivalent of renter's insurance for your items that you store inside the building, that would be something you would have to look into.
Okay.
But the question would be, how do you value those sorts of things? Because those are all historical items. So you'd have to talk to an agent about that. But that would be your obligation if you wanted to do it.
Then would you say then all the rest of 13, the A, B, and C, is pretty well what you think should stay in the contract?
Yeah, that would be unchanged, I think, for the most part, although I think I might ask the agent about paragraph 13C about mutual releases. I'm not sure that's really needed. And on page 5, item 14, this is a typical lease where you, the Historical Society, would indemnify and hold the township harmless against any claims for activities going on. That's part of this Historical Society. That's kind of a typical provision that most leases include.
Okay.
Now, you were going to ask about
Number 12 and
12.
17 as well.
Yeah, casualty, you know, I probably, if the place were to burn down, they'd probably terminate. I mean, this is just a $1 a year lease, and if it were destroyed, that would, you know, the obligations of the society at that point would end, I would imagine.
Well, for one, if it's torn, if it gets torn down or burns down, it can't be built back. It goes back to Bill
Right.
Wybrook gets a property
Gets
back.
reverted back to
Right.
the,
So if it's ever destroyed, Bill Weisbrooks or whoever owns that piece of property gets that piece of property back. So there's no rebuilding.
so that would be, you know, 12 we could delete.
Okay.
And the only other thing on that page, on page 4, item 11, the only thing that the Historical Society wanted added was that if someone from the township is going to enter the property to do an inspection, you wanted someone from the Historical Society to accompany the township official.
Yes, as long as it wasn't something that was so urgent that we couldn't make, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up with the township trustees is on page 2, item H at the bottom, additional rules. I don't know if there's any additional rules that the township wants to place on the building. If there are, you could attach an Exhibit B.
What kind of rules you think about?
Over and above this, rules on your occupancy. In this situation, I can't think of one, but before we deleted it, I didn't know if the township had any additional rules they wanted to put in place. If not, I'll just delete it.
Or do you want them to have time to go over it and
Yeah.
they make, you know,
Yeah, since you
ask
haven't,
us to come again and go over the contract?
one other provision that the Historical Society wanted deleted was paragraph 17 on page 5 about subordinating their lease in the event that the township, and I don't think the township could probably even do this, but if it took out a mortgage and wanted to use the property as collateral, it would subordinate their lease. But I can't imagine a situation where the township would do that, or whether they can even do it. So,
Yeah, we're gonna own the land, so.
yeah. So I would delete that. What I was going to do is make these changes presented at the next meeting. The trustees can vote on it, and if they vote to approve, then it could be signed then.
don't have any problem with that.
That sounds good. Okay.
I only have one other thing then that I would like to bring to your attention. This is the bicentennial year of New Baltimore, and we asked you last year for the bicentennial New Haven if you would consider doing another proclamation and consider also putting up signs as you did for New Haven for their bicentennial for New Baltimore. And I do have an example of a proclamation. I presented one for New Haven as well.
It's all right with me. I don't know, did you already get the signs or not?
No, but I can get them in a hurry.
I didn't know if you got them because you knew it was coming up for that already or not, so.
If I remember right, you appropriated up to $500 for New Haven signs, but they didn't use that much money for those signs.
140.
We can do the same thing, I'd say.
I would say something similar to what you've done for New
Yeah,
Haven, just add it to the underneath the New Baltimore signs. And I don't know how many are out there. 6 New Baltimore signs.
I think okay with us.
How many did you get for New Haven? How many signs?
I think it was 5.
5, so it'd be about close to the same price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to make a resolution for that and to purchase signs for New Baltimore. Then when's Fernald?
I don't know if, Fernald doesn't have a bicentennial. I don't know where the lines are for New Baltimore.
I don't.
When did they put in the train track? That's when Fernald.
I can look into
The
that. We
motion,
can
you
look
wanted
into
to
that.
have that $500 maximum as you did.
Maximum for signs for New Baltimore bicentennial.
Somebody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Do you want a copy of the proclamation that
Yes.
I've made up?
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Dole?
Yes.
Mr. Niehaus?
Yes.
Mr. Heiss?
Yes.
Okay, that is all I have, and I thank you.
Do you have it? You already have it?
You want me to make one for everybody real quick?
Birds living upstairs.
Alan, do you have any other reports?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any other reports tonight?
Yeah, when you get, it's very short.
Okay.
I didn't know if you still on public at large. I didn't know if there was.
I think I looked at it. Okay. I guess we'll read the whole thing.
You want to wait and make that proclamation later? Like we did for New Haven.
Yeah, okay.
We can do it next meeting.
Okay, we do it next meeting. So. Any more public at large?
Sauer. I just moved out here from Green Township about a year ago, so I'm just a little confused, and maybe you guys can help me. I live in Trails of Whitewater, 9508 Redstone Court, and apparently that's the city of Harrison, but we're in Crosby Township. So can somebody just give me a 2-minute explanation of, do we vote for Crosby Township, or
Yes.
or do we vote for, because they asked me to vote for the Harrison mayor also, so I'm a little bit confused.
Could you spell your name?
Sauer, S-A-U-E-R,
Thank
Ray.
Yeah.
We vote for both.
We vote in both?
Yes.
Pay taxes in both?
Yes.
Okay, but the sheriff's office, I got a little paper in the mail, and it said if we have an emergency, we call the sheriff's office, but I'm actually in Harrison, so I'm a little.
You call Harrison.
Call Harrison? Okay.
You call Harrison, and, I mean,
And
they
they'll,
have the right to go into Harrison,
Well,
right?
they do patrol that.
But you,
We have jurisdiction, that's correct, because Harrison Police Department is their primary
Yeah.
jurisdiction. We will not respond in there unless we're requested.
yes.
I'll give you I'll give you a 30-minute, over here.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
I'll give you a 30-second, I could give you a 30-minute, but I'll give you a 30-second explanation. There was a type 2 annexation that happened there where that particular property was annexed from the Crosby Township into the city of Harrison. With a type 2 annexation, there is no separation. The city of Harrison just expands out into the neighboring township. So then you have dual citizenship. You are city of Harrison in Crosby Township. So you get to vote for both, and you pay taxes in both.
Oh, that's a nice thing,
Yeah, but with the type 2 annexation, the city of Harrison signed off that they would provide services.
yeah. Yeah, and so begs the point, though, that some of Crosby Township is covered by Harrison Police then, is that correct?
No.
Well, yes.
Well, I get
Yeah.
those areas that have been
Because
annexed.
The
The Parks of Whitewater.
Parks of Whitewater is the same thing.
Right.
So not all of Crosby Township is covered by,
No,
part
Just-
of it is covered by another police department then, which is
county.
Harrison.
yep.
Am I right in that Harrison covers part of Crosby Township?
You could say that, yes.
Okay.
Just the Parks of Whitewater and,
Okay.
and north, you know. Yeah.
And maybe I can talk to you later about it. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to learn the system out here, so.
Yeah, well, when we argued about this annexation, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, you know, he said all it's gonna do is cause confusion. And
Well,
they just say they don't care, it's up to you to handle it. It helped the developer.
I have the City of Cincinnati water and City of Harrison sewer, so.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
it created 2 islands of Crosby Township also, that we have to go through the city of Harrison to get to the 2 islands of Crosby Township. One being Short Road and one being the corner of Boffman and Edgewood. That's still Crosby Township proper.
And up there on Bachman Road, there's one house. The yellow farmhouse up there is in Crosby Township. It's the only one that's surrounded by the whole city.
Yeah,
That
well, it's a little
farmhouse
bigger
is
than
in
that.
Crosby Township.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I'm confused.
it's a mess.
Any more public at large? Yes.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Rogers, principal at Crosby Elementary, just down the street. I'm really just here tonight to extend an invitation to the residents of Crosby Township. We are in the very final phases, design phases of our new elementary school that we're going to be breaking ground on hopefully at the beginning of August. The building is completely designed. We have one final piece. That is kind of what we're calling a history/pride wall. For the community, we felt like it was important to kind of bring a piece of not only the old elementary school, but just the township history in general into the new school building. So the way it's set up is when you walk into the new entrance of the school, there will be a wall in the main office that kind of wraps around into what we're calling the public area of the school, which is basically the stage and the cafeteria area, which will open up into the gymnasium for different performances where the community will be able to come in and watch the kids perform or use that space for sporting events and what have you. Kind of the idea of the wall is basically to create, it's not a 3D thing, it's more of a 2D flat digital design basically that we're hoping will showcase the history of Crosby Township. I reached out to Brenda Jackson and she put me in touch with Melba, so I'm hoping Melba and or some of the representatives from the Historical Society will be able to help us with that project. But if there's anybody that lives in Crosby Township that's been here, for generations, and you feel like you have something to offer to that project, we would love to have you. We're having a meeting at Harrison High School in the Media Center on Wednesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. So I would just like to invite anybody that thinks they might be interested in helping us out with that to attend that first meeting, get a better idea of what exactly the project's going to entail. And then if you feel like you can make a commitment to kind of be part of that committee, that would be great. Or if you feel like you just have, some items that you could share to help the project come to fruition, that would be great too. So appreciate it. You all kind of sharing that information out in the community as you run across people that you think might be able to help us out with that. So thank you.
Is Rogers with a D or just a G? Okay, thank you. K-I-E-R-S-T-O-N? E-N?
Okay.
Hello, my name is Brett Updike. I'm a Morgan Township trustee from the township just north of you all. I believe Mr. Dole, Mr. Niehaus, I had spoke to you on the phone here recently. I do believe Mr. Charles did try to call me back. I think we've played phone tag and never got a hold of each other, if I'm not mistaken. Was wondering if you found any more information out on some of that stuff I had sent you there, I believe, Mr. Dole.
No, I didn't hear anything more. I didn't find out anything different.
And I don't know if, is it a Michelle Baum that does the,
She's a recycling for Hamilton County.
Waste
Mm-hmm.
for Hamilton County. Does any of you know how we got included, I guess,
Maybe
or
this
are you
guy
guys
right there.
even in this? Because my understanding includes Morgan Township, Crosby Township, Whitewater, and Harrison to put out for bids for a trash collection.
No, I'm not sure what happened in Morgan Township, but December 11th, I believe, 2018, we had Michelle Barr came to our meeting to talk about, she is from Hamilton County recycling, and she explained to us in general terms how it worked. And we voted a motion to go ahead and look into it for further information on how that program worked. That's the only thing we ever done officially in Crosby Township. Now, as of today, my understanding, Whitewater and Harrison trustees have not had a meeting yet. I believe Harrison Township has a meeting scheduled later this month, and Michelle Barr will come out and explain that to the trustees.
I think it's the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. I think Harrison. I did not find anywhere on Whitewater Townships, even when their meeting was, or their next meeting, and no one ever from their township called me back. I think I got one return from Harrison, but I know our, let's see, I'm trying to think of the lady. Ann Fearman, or Flag, from Butler County Waste Recycling. She showed up at our township, which my understanding and my other trustee understanding was just an informational, which we had looked into this in 2016 when Ross, I'm trying to remember the other two townships. Coleraine and
Springfield, maybe?
Springfield.
I think it is Springfield.
Right.
Had joined that. We also talked with Rumpke. Rumpke basically told us that they probably wouldn't see any savings, but I know, like on our residents, we've got it's almost 400 residents that don't even get garbage service. So if we was to do this, they would have a mandatory bill. I know they've been said that you can opt out, but if you go back to the article in the Cincinnati Enquirer, back when Ross and them did it, it even says in that article you cannot opt out. We have residents in our township that own property and rental properties in Ross, and they cannot get out of it. So if they have a renter that moves out, they get that bill for the entire time until they get another renter in. There's only one gentleman that I have found so far in Ross that did get out of it. He drops his garbage in another dumpster, which he had permission. He had to get a notarized note from that owner and himself to get out of it. And there's a lot of people in Ross that have collection agencies coming after him that didn't have bills before that have them now. So moving forward, if that's something you guys want to do, I'd really think about it. And I'm trying to find how our name got thrown in. The only thing I can come up with is one of our trustees did it on his own. Because the other two of us,
I'm looking at your resolution that you called me about, and it, it's written by your fiscal officer, so I'm just kind of.
No, it's not written by our physical officer. This was not written by our physical officer.
Oh, well, it says it
at
at the
bottom. This was brought to us from Ann Flagg.
Oh, well,
and it's got all our names. It's all made out to us.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit of a shock because
yeah, it is. It's a shock when you told me that.
And it's got your guys' township and Whitewater and Harrison all in this, and I'm like, how'd this happen?
I don't know how it could happen. We're two different counties.
Well, my understanding, and this is further investigation, to do this, you have to have at least 3 entities.
Well,
to put
the
out
thing
for
that
bids.
Rookie does with Coleraine, they do it with Ross.
Yeah, because
and
Ross
Springfield.
and Coleraine, they're 2 different Hamilton and Butler County.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm trying to find out more information.
Yeah, that's what we haven't
That's
got a
why
clue.
I sent you that. That's why I'm calling, and I'm trying to figure out how all this happens.
Yeah, we don't know either because, like I said, this resolution it's for you, and it says our names are included as also, and it's for you to sign off on it. So it's like I don't know where.
Well, if you read that, it says board approval, I believe, on number 2, and then you turn around and you go to number 4, and it says that administrator, once the bids are back, can go ahead and sign off. Well, if you read this the way that's written, that could be your administrator, that could be one of you guys, Harrison, and I'm like, there's no way I would pass that, even if I was looking for this.
Well, let me tell you a couple of things. East Township, basically, we're looking into the information before we make a decision, okay? Not what we did in December 2018, we made a motion to get out more information. After that meeting in January, I called Michelle Ball and set up a meeting. And at that time, because I know about 4.5 years ago, when Ross, Springfield, and Coleraine got together, the township got together to reduce the cost of recycling and waste collection. I invited Harrison, Whitewater, and Morgan Township to come to that meeting, and that was for information only. We had a meeting with Michelle. At that meeting, everybody agreed that we'd go back and set up a meeting with Michelle or Ann, whoever it was, to get more information about how this program worked, okay? And at that time, when we left that meeting, that what was going to happen. Now, what happened in Morgan Township, I got no idea. They look like they jumped the gun, because that seemed like that would be the last thing you would do after you collect all the information. My understanding, I've been collecting information from different people who pay recycling and waste collection. I know somebody who lives in Ross Township, and they pay like $57 every 3 months for waste and recycling. And I also talked to Bob Bass, who is administrator, and he told me they're exempting that certain like businesses got their own collection, apartment building, like 4 more units maybe, whatever, and farmers or whatever, they are exempt. They can sign an exemption saying they do not want to be part of this agreement.
They did exempt the farmers. For my understanding, everyone else, unless you have it registered away and you can prove that you're getting your garbage put in a dumpster and you have a letter from them, they're not going to do it. Because there's many of them that tried and most of them can't do it. And I know there's a lot of people that live from paycheck to paycheck out there, didn't have garbage. We have a lot of elderly people that go to Florida. They can't turn their garbage off in the winter. So they have to pay that bill even though they're in Florida and they're not even up here and no one's there. So don't believe everything you've heard.
So basically, I'm basically just saying that.
And if you look at that article in the Enquirer, I don't know if I sent that to you or not.
No, you did not.
Did I?
Never talked to me.
I believe Mr. Dole. I believe he's got it.
Yeah, it's an old
It states
article.
it in there. There is no opting out. And they will send a collection agency to those residents. Everyone gets a bill.
See, my understanding that is controlled by the township, okay? But we haven't, I have not met again with Michelle, okay? So I'm waiting to see if the other township is interested in going in this. We don't know if Crosby Township will do it. We could still collect information.
Well,
So there are a lot of rumors going around, and I'm not sure who's spreading them. But I talked to the trustees personally, either over the phone or in person, and they have not had any meetings yet. But my understanding, based on the information I gather, you can say the resident from 25 to maybe 100, almost $100 a year on waste and recycling. So
we figured up from 2016 off the article in the Enquirer, and we took my other trustee's bill. He would save $32 a year. But we also, once we talked to Rumpke, Rumpke also said we won't get the same price because they border the dump. We're farther out, and logistically, plus that doesn't include fuel surcharge. And being in the trucking industry, there will be fuel surcharge, and with the tax they're talking about adding at 26 on the diesel,
well, Bob
it's going
Bass,
to go on them bills.
Okay, Bob Bass, I talked to him maybe a month or two ago, and I talked to him years ago, because what happened is somebody moved from Colerain Township to Crosby Township, and Colerain Township is in that agreement, and the guy emailed, I think all three of us, saying he cannot believe the cost increase from going from Colerain to Crosby Township.
Well, the farther you go out, you're going to pay for that distance. That's same way with the salt and everything else. The farther you are from wherever it comes, you're going to pay that shipping. Makes the bill go up.
So, but the other thing is I heard is I've talked to somebody from Springfield, a trustee at noontime, and she said they are very happy with it. That's what she said. And she's claiming people say they have no waste. Now, everybody got waste. So, but
yes and no.
But anyway, that's where we are. I mean,
all I can say is see what your residents want, because I ain't found too many.
We getting information, and we're gonna get it on the facts and not on rumors.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public at large? Yes.
What is
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later, right?
Hell, yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, Alan?
Yes, regarding the continuing litigation between the City of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, it's over the city's decision to raise water rates for unincorporated areas of Hamilton County. The county sued the city. All the townships have been brought in as parties to it. There was going to be a hearing starting, I think, today, or continuation of the hearing in front of Judge Ruhlman, but I was told last week that the two parties have continued to negotiate, and they were going to meet with Judge Ruhlman, and as a consequence, the continuation of the hearing that was going to start up again this week is not going to happen. So that's the latest on that litigation. That's all I have.
Okay.
Goes on and on.
Never ends.
Harry?
I don't have anything right now, thank you.
Well, I gave you a copy. I got this Hamilton County engineer came out and expressed our birds are walking.
Yeah, I got that, yeah.
I guess it passed. So I guess they do it every year.
Yeah. We got a couple things on there we gotta fix, but other than that.
Okay. Okay, the fire department.
We had 40 total runs for February. 26 were EMS details and 14 fire details. We have a 4 gas meter on our engine 28. We had 2 sensors go bad. That monitor was under warranty. We were able to ship it back to the manufacturer to replace the 2 sensors. It's now back. As Principal Rogers mentioned, the new elementary school will be built soon, starting to. We've had numerous meetings with the construction contractors, the Southwest School Board, over plans, finalizing the plans. Those meetings went very well. That's all I have.
Okay, couple of things. I guess February 28th, the WestJet Advisory Board had a meeting.
We did.
And I got a minute from Coppin Swift. I guess you got a copy of those too?
Yes.
What I want to bring up in this meeting is WestJet based on the budget originally for 2019, we're going to be short like maybe $80-something thousand. And since that time, we found out that tested gas in Crosby Township was not originally in the estimate for real estate taxes for 2019, and that amount is $64,565. So now the $80-some deficit is now down to about $20,000, and then I guess they're going to cut the health insurance, so they're probably going to be down to about $10,000 or $12,000 for 2019. So it looks like that problem is temporarily going to be resolved. Basically,
WestJet board meeting April 4th coming up, and I think we're going to talk about all those options and get with the you and the other trustee member from Whitewater. Let them know where we stand. Let them know the new figures with the Texas gas numbers.
okay. So, the only other thing I want to go over real fast is, like I mentioned in the beginning, we had a Chestnut meeting, last meeting, and and I want to cover what we talked about in that meeting. And actually, it was not a adjusted meeting. Jason had to leave on an emergency call. And but basically, we were going over some general information. One thing I was looking at was the estimate real estate taxes for 2019. And originally, we used figures from August of 2019 from the Hamilton County Auditor Office. But that did not include Texas gas. That was another $157,000 for the fire department. So one thing we talk about is the estimate for 2019 taxes look low, and I'm looking into that when I was talking to the Hamilton County Auditor Office, and I also talked to the State of Ohio Auditor Office. And so I'm still working on that part. The other part, what we talk about is how much more it would cost to hire a full-time firefighter medic compared to a part-time. And I came up with some rough figure from 20,000 to maybe 23,000 more per year. So, but I got figures here. I'm not going to go in detail, but basically, what we talk about is just assessing, and actually end it because Jason left on an emergency call. So basically all we talk about in that meeting. So, Brenda.
Hi. I am excited to tell you what's been going on for the last month with the community as far as the coordinators report. The seniors tomorrow will be having their March meeting here at the community center at 1 p.m. and they will first meet. What they like to do is eat at a local restaurant, so they'll be at Nick's restaurant at 11:30 for lunch and then here for bingo after. Our guest speaker tomorrow will be Dr. Jeremy Warden, who will speak about the health benefits of acupuncture and chiropractic work, so you all are welcome. They are planning a trip the next day, on Wednesday, to Crayons to Computers. That would be March 13th, to do volunteer work so that they can receive vouchers that we can then give to Crosby Elementary teachers to shop for classroom supplies for free. So we're excited. I think we have 13, so 13 teachers can go shopping for free. An outing is planned on March 28th to the Hollywood Casino. They have fun doing that, so we're going to do that at the end of the month. Last week we went to the Omnimax Theater and saw 2 movies and had lunch at Camp Washington Chili. Just a little update, our plans continue to happen to organize a Crosby Township Community Health Fair for this spring. The date is set for Saturday, April 27th, and it will be held here at the community center. I think it will be a fun family day for folks to kind of come in and be on their grounds, and there will be a schedule of activities and little mini workshops about things related to healthy living and having some family fun. So you'll hear more about that at the next meeting as we nail it all down. Lastly, I recently submitted 3 grants, and I'm waiting to find out to hear if they're successful for a township. And that pretty much wraps up my month.
Okay.
Is that all you did?
It was a busy month. Thanks, Jim.
Okay. First officer.
Whenever you want to talk about the Republic, we can do that here or
Business.
elsewhere.
Old business.
Old business, okay. In that case, I will, none. But I will pitch in at the other one.
Guess it's your next.
Okay. Rook, zoning.
We had but 9 zoning certificates issued last month, and that's all I have.
How many?
9.
9, okay.
Okay. I guess old business. Mr. Doe.
I have none. Let you guys talk.
Mr. Niehaus.
I have the dumpsters.
I'd like to make a motion, we get out of the garbage business. Let, it's just not working. So that's my opinion. I mean, we've met with Republic here. They told us they were going to take care of it, and it still ain't happening. And it's not worth it. It's a losing. We lose money on it every year. And if the residents want to do it, I think they should do it on their own. We've tried, and it's a failure because we're the only one left in this area. It's just, and then they don't pick it up. So what do? I get phone calls. I don't know if you guys get phone calls. I get phone calls. Brenda gets phone calls. We all get phone calls about why ain't the dumpsters dumped. To me, we have more important things to do than to talk about the garbage and the dumpsters and over to the firehouse. I mean, I'm done with it. So it's whatever you guys.
Well, I'll second it. I've been pretty much a proponent for recycling ever since we started it, way back when Millie first started it, however many years ago. And I always thought it was a good idea, but I just see how it's just gone downhill immensely, since then. The first few years it was really good. We got a recycling award from the county for increased tonnage of recycling. I mean, we were doing well, but as you said, at the time, everyone around us was recycling too. And then the garbage took over, and everybody started, getting rid of their dumpsters. And then now the garbage come to us. So I don't know any other way to get around, I mean, we've tried to police them, signage, and now we've got the company that you guys supposedly worked out a deal with that now aren't dealing with us. So.
Yeah, and I guess we had a resident call up and wonder why they aren't there telling us we didn't pay our bill, which we've talked about that. Me and Bob met with the representative from Republic, and he said it'll be taken care of. Don't worry, you'll never miss any service. And because he was on waiver of that because they're wrong on what they were charging us. We were right, but evidently, I don't know how big Republic is. I guess I'm pretty sure it's national. And you're talking to somebody that's not around here, and for him to get a hold of whoever's in the billing department, I don't know if it's a big deal or what, but he says we're good, but it don't. They ain't been dumped in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm done with it. I mean, they're not even dumping the garbage dumpsters. I know Harry's is full. I don't know how at the firehouse.
Picking up the garbage.
They're not even picking up anything. It's not right. We're right and they're wrong on this thing, and we were told we were right, and it was going to be taken care of, and they came and dumped them, but I think the last time they dumped, they were late too. I think. So I mean, I'm done with it. I mean, I think it's a time. I think we ought to get out of the garbage business.
Yeah, cut our losses. Go.
I'll fill in a little bit, just try to make it short. Basically what happened, I guess towards the end of last year, they tacked on a fee that was $220 some per month, and I forget how it was worded, but basically the suggestion was that we were contaminating the recycle bins. And so at one of our trustee meetings, Mr. Niehaus asked a very interesting, though simple question. He said, well, how do they know that our bins are recycled? Because just common sense would say they don't pick up our recycle and go straight to wherever they dump it and then come back and go to somebody else. So I asked him that question, and at that time the representative said to me that they instruct their dumpster people to take pictures. So I asked them to, before we continue to pay that extra 200 and some dollars, which is, you know, the bill was like 400 and something, and they're tacking on a pretty big chunk. And I said, could you, you know, before I pay this, I want to see proof. If they're taking pictures, then there's evidence. And he sent me some pictures, but they were pictures at the New Baltimore site, which we haven't used for a year and a half. So at that time, you know, our antenna were up, and we're like, I guess it was me being bullheaded. I said, I'm not paying that 220 some dollars until they prove to us that we're actually contaminating the site. So in their mind, we weren't paying our bill, but in my mind, I was paying the bill minus the fee. So that continued for a little bit, and the timing, I guess, was bad. It was right around Christmas, if you remember. That's the first time that they didn't pick up our recycled. And eventually we did get somebody to come out. He was very nice, and he basically said that they would roll back our prices to the September price before this $220 some fee. And we had overpaid. Even still, he actually rolled it back less than the 400 and some dollars. It was like 370. So anyway, I did the math, and basically, according to my math, we had overpaid by over $700 of what we should have paid with the individual that came out, and Mr. Niehaus and I talked to him. They were still sending us bills that kept going up, like $1,500, $1,600 that we owed, and I just refused to pay that because I thought they owed us money. My math was clear. So anyway, long story short, I just made a payment a week or so ago, and I faxed it to the guy that talked to us, and I faxed it to the woman who had also contacted us, and I said, by my math, this is what we owe, and it was like $380 some dollars. Compared to, they had actually reduced it. It took several months, but the guy that we talked to actually got some things done. They had reduced it down to about $900 that we owed. Well, I wasn't going to pay that. Okay, so again, bullheaded Italian, whatever. So they shut us off again, and I called the guy that talked to us, and he said, I have instructed them not to do that. And he said, the guy that's kind of in charge of that is right down the hallway. I can see him now, and he literally said he was running to talk to him. And I thought, okay, by Monday, I guess this was on a Friday, by Monday I expected it to be picked up, or at the latest Tuesday, or at the very latest the next Wednesday, because they were supposed to come out anyway. It didn't happen. So I called again, left a message for him, and he has not called back. I haven't heard from the woman that I sent the fax to either. So I guess in their mind, we haven't paid the entire bill. In my mind, we are now paid up through March. And unless the trustees say, give them the extra $600-700, not going to do it, and the trustees can decide if we want to continue to fight this battle or not. My observation is, it's a very simple one, is the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. This guy was very nice to us. He was very upfront. He realized the possible consequences that we could do what these other locations have done. I mean, a lot of them were with Republic, and boom, 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 they cut it off. So I don't know what their problem is. I guess I do somewhat, is the cost of recycling has gone up. We have talked about that at the meetings, and that extra $200 some that we thought initially, that we were told initially that it was because we were contaminating our bins. The guy that came down and talked to us said that's not correct. He said, we're charging everybody that fee. So the pictures were unnecessary, but it was months later before he told us the real reason. So it has become a kind of a big problem. I and we do feel bad about the filled dumpsters. I think we've tried beyond what's reasonable to work this thing out, and it just is not getting resolved, and they're just not doing the right things. Brenda?
I would just add a little bit unrelated to the financial part of it. I do get phone calls, and the phone calls are, of course, people wondering when, you know, they can bring their recycling or complaining about that part of it. But honestly, where we are today, I think, is that a lot of the calls are not from people in Crosby Township, because we have a conversation, and I find that, you know, that they say, well, it's shut down in Harrison, and they name other places. So we're getting everybody's stuff is a problem, and the second problem is everything that's coming in now is definitely contaminated. There are all kinds of garbage things in there and trash, so no matter what we would ever try to do, it would always be with the penalties, because now it's out of control that we're the last man standing and everybody's just dumping.
It could be clean as a whistle, and we're getting the penalty right now. Is what the last thing that we learned. And the other last thing that Brenda shared with me is that people who call Republic is saying the reason we're not picking up your recycling is because Crosby Township is not paying their bill.
Right, that was the message I got today.
We're not paying the bill that they've calculated.
Right.
We're paying the bill that we've calculated. And to support ours, as I said, originally it was up to like $1,600 and some that we so-called owed. Now it has dropped down to, say, $700. So to me, that tells me that our math is better than their math. So
right.
That's where it's sad to me that they're blaming us on this, but I think the ball's in their court, and they've just fumbled it.
I was just going to add at the end of what I was saying, the other problem that folks are, you know, or the thing that they say is, well, it's blocked off, I can't even get back there. And I just said, well, we have to do that because people are putting all the trash back. Everything is ending up on the, you know, on the ground right around those. And what happens next is then it blows into neighbors' yards, and the maintenance fellows have to go try to pick it all back up again. So the best thing and only thing we can do is just to, you know, rope that off. And if they are very, you know, worried about what to do with their bag, I just have to say to them, honestly, if it were me and I was worried about what to do with the bag and there was nowhere to go with it, I would just throw it away and stop worrying, and we'll see how we can solve it as a township. So that's where we kind of left off.
I think that's one reason why we're looking into possibly a deal to make available to the residents a large recycle bin that would cost possibly less than what they're paying for garbage pickup now. This gentleman says that may not be a reality, and I'm not questioning you, but it's why we're looking into that, because it's up to the trustees, but it sounds like they're in the same boat. We're very close to eliminating our recycle pickup here, and so we don't want to leave the residents dry, so to speak. We would like to have an alternative for the people in Crosby Township, and we're looking into that.
Just a issue about the motion itself. Is this a month-to-month contract? It can be. No. Is it the end of this month? Is the end of the contract?
Well, my understanding is somebody said we got recycling and waste pickup. If we cancel recycling and stay with the waste, there is no penalty. Is that correct?
That's what we were told.
Okay.
We were told.
And
So-
our contract with them runs out, and we need to get on this exactly towards the middle of 2020. So in 2020, we can decide to kick them out of the garbage business.
All right.
Also,
But as far as just because the recycling bins, they're behind the fire department on Boffman Road, are the trustees voting so that as of tonight, there's not going to be any more access at all to the bins until they're removed?
Gone.
It's up to them.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
My motion was to be gone.
I understand,
Recycling
but I
is
just
gone.
I think maybe it would be good to clarify the motion that as of tonight, it's end, and there's not going to be any more access to the bins as of tonight.
And it
Is
will
that
be
the-
gone after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tonight they're full.
Oh, they've been full for 2 weeks.
Yeah. They've been
So
full
it
for
ain't-
at least 2 weeks.
Now, the only thing I'll throw in there, because my wife always says I look on the dark side, we looked into this less than a year ago, and the contract, and this again was told to me by one of the representatives who also said the reason you get this extra charge is because you're contaminated, so he was wrong. But anyway, he said that if we opt out of the contract early, our penalty is 6 months worth of service. So you're talking $600 a month, $3,600 penalty, something like that. But the guy that came and talked to us, he said, we will not do that as long as you keep some aspect of the contract. And so that's our plan. For some reason, I expect some kind of fight from Republic if we do this, but.
So even, just so I want to make clear in the motion, even if they're right now emptying those bins as we're in the meeting, no one from this point forward is going to have access to those bins, even if they're sitting there empty until they're picked up, correct?
No.
Yeah, I am correct?
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay.
The next time they're dumped will be the last.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure the motion was stated in that manner.
Dump them and take them.
Yeah, Harrison Township has the same problem with dump waste and the recycling. Right before Christmas, they put on their sign that they're ending recycling in the middle of December, and then whatever day that was, the next day they were gone. And they had the same problem. They had garbage blown all over the place.
We'll keep the dumpster to Harry's dumpsters and the fire department's dumpster.
The garbage.
Right.
The garbage ones.
One of the other keys to March, when we had this meeting, when he lowered our rates, he said, basically he lowered it to a rate that was a loss for them, okay? And he said, after March, I can't guarantee that rate. So March is a good time to end it. In my mind, we've paid through March. Now, they might come back at us and say, well, according to our math, you owe us $250. I'll talk to the trustee. There may be another tiny little bill, but I don't think so. I mean, we should be good through March. But after March, it could go back up to $600 and some a month, and I think this is a good time to cut them loose.
And basically, he's the one who came up with the idea to get rid of them. To keep the two. You say you're still in your contract.
Right.
If you keep two dumpsters, you just change your contract around. Your agreement around. But
and
he's the one who said to get. It's they're losing money on recycling is a problem, is because nothing's worth anything. So everybody's just got it stored up all over in all these buildings, and they're losing money on it. And that's what the $200 and some is really about, is to make up for the price of recycling, because it was high and now it's cheap, so they got to make up that price someplace. So they raise up everybody, because it's not the contamination anymore. Now it's everybody got bumped up because it's recycling, plastics went down, and all that. So.
There's a glut.
And we talked about at previous meetings the option of getting a cardboard only bin, and the trustees could speak to this, but the naysayers said people will come with stuff that won't fit in there and they'll just throw it on the ground. And so probably their decision will be not to go with those, even though
and we will still get the recycling from other areas, just like we found when you find Dairy Queen stuff in ours.
We're pretty much left with our hands tied on this, that we can't go to a middle ground. I think the mindset of the trustees is that we just can't, it's just not going to work. So
call a motion.
All right.
Yeah, what happened is China, #1 buyer of recycling, that market went down. Cost like 90% the price.
What he
went
told
down.
us was that they were sending a lot of the recycled materials to China, but China was discovering contaminated, and so they said no more. So China's like a large us. Basically, they said, "Hey, we're not taking this anymore. You've messed it up," and so that's what he told us.
Call a motion, Chuck.
Okay, I'll be quiet. So I've got Mr. Niehaus made the motion. Mr. Dole seconded it. So.
I guess roll call. I guess we're talking enough about.
Mr. Dole.
Yes.
Mr. Niehaus?
Yes.
Mr. Heiss?
Yes. So. Okay. So maybe we still can come up with, somehow, the residents still can recycle if they want to. I think $11 a quarter to recycle is
If
my
they
understanding.
come Wednesday to empty them, you still want the parking lot closed off, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Until they're gone.
Well, it's a different truck.
Yep.
Okay. Any other old business for you?
Yes, this is for the chief and the sheriffs. April 1st, they're closing Atherton Road Bridge. They told me at the meeting Thursday. So, well, you probably don't know about it.
I do know about it.
I think I told you about it.
I was given a date
But-
of April 17th originally.
Yeah, but they told me April 1st, and that since we do got a Morgan Township trustee here. Yeah. We got 2 residents on Atherton Road that will be on the other side of the bridges, and we need Butler County Sheriffs to cover them and Morgan Township Fire Department.
Our cars are aware of the closing, what they need to do to get around Crobsy.
Okay, but it's on he said the 1st now, so. That's it.
I have no old business. New business, Mr. Doe.
I have no news business,
Mr. Niehaus? I have a copy of the credit card policy. I guess did you get a copy? I guess we need to vote on it. I don't know if we want to vote on it tonight and vote on it next time. I did one minor change. Yeah.
You got a change
Please.
you would like to see? You got a change in there, you said?
Well, the only thing is the one page that they got a sign and I should add a date to the bottom.
Oh,
Which
okay.
one you doing? Is that the one for Whitewater, the one, our old
Are
one?
we
is it?
syncing that with the new rules, or is that just,
Did you check on it?
I'm not finished comparing them, so I'd kinda like to
All right.
wait till
Oh,
next
okay.
month. if
So
that's
somebody
okay.
put it in my box. I thought it was, so you're gonna look
There's
into
been
it?
some changes. I guess, some places, some of the credit card use is, being abused. And, so there's kind of a new set of rules, and we want to compare our policy with what's suggested now. And, you know, we don't use our credit cards that often, but we might as well sync them with the way things are going now, just to make sure that, there's, you know, I read a couple things in the article. Somebody racked up like $700 thousand that they sent their kid through college. I mean, so we need to get on that right away and make sure that our policy covers the kind of things that they want covered. So,
Say you want to delay it to next month?
yeah, I think so, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I could see they tighten up the rules, so.
Yes.
It was in the Ohio Township book. Did you see it in there?
Yes. See, I was going up in January to the Ohio Township Association meeting in Columbus, but it snowed that day, and all the way from here to Columbus, and one time it took me 7 hours to get home from Columbus when it snowed, so we'll do that next time. The other thing, we had a meeting March the 7th with the Hamilton County Engineering Office. They went over what they did in 2018, 2019, 2020, what they will be going. The only thing I look and see, and Chris was involved with that, is we had New Haven Road recycle. I'm not recycle, but resurfaced from 128 over to River Road. And but they got nothing planned for 2019.
Except for the bridge.
Except for the bridge, so. The other thing, I had a meeting today with the Hamilton County Public Health. Jim and I went to it. That's the first one I ever went to. So there will be a copy out there if you want to look through it. So it was a very interesting program. It lasted about an hour and 15 minutes. So I think you went to one in the past.
I've been in the past, yeah.
So all I have.
Updates.
So, is there any other concern?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dole?
Yes.
Mr. Niehaus?
Yes.
Mr. Heiss?
Yes. And thank everybody for coming. Our next meeting will be April the 8th at 7 p.m.